Good morning and namaste to all of you. Let's start the class with the prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bho Bhava Swaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Nah Prachodayat, Asto Ma Satgamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamya. Om Sehna Vavatu, Sehna Bhunaktu, Sehviryam Karvavahi, Tejasvi Navadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti 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 Om. So we've been talking about in the last few classes Lord Shiva, his avatars, Lord Brahma, his avatars. And last week we learned some basic terminology also. So today I decided to talk about Lord Ganesh. I'm sure all of you have Lord Ganesh's statue in your homes. So popular all over India. All over India. Before anything good we do, any auspicious, we pray to Lord Ganesh. So let's just learn a little bit about it from a yogic standpoint. And if time permits, I'll talk about some avatars of Lord Ganesh too. Okay. Ganesh ji generally is called elephant-headed god and associated with good fortune, and one of the most familiar deities of India. But in yogic tradition, he stands for a lot more than good luck god. We all know that in India, till quite recently, very few people could read. And books that did exist were handmade and quite expensive. So the sages, they created colorful stories to help people remember important spiritual lessons vividly. And one of the most famous of these stories is about Ganesh. And it's found in the Purans, which are our ancient scriptures, Purans. It concerns his battle with Gajmukh, a fierce demon, Gajmukh, so powerful that he managed to throw all the celestial beings out of heaven, and they all ran to Ganesh for help. At first, Ganeshji could not make much headway against the demon also. Because in the previous lifetimes, Gajmukh had done a lot of spiritual practice and had refined his willpower, has gotten a lot of boons also. But unfortunately, he had never learned to open his heart or purify his heart. Just like yesterday also we were learning, austerity was done by Amba, but heart was not clean. So the same thing, Gajmukh. So he has the strength and he had the ability in a very selfish quest for personal powers. So no weapon Ganeshji hurled at the demon had any effect until finally the Ganeshji broke off his own right tusk and threw it at the demon, cursing him to become a mouse. That did the trick. Gajmukh turned into a rodent and Ganeshji with his hefty weight, saddled up and began riding this tiny mouse. And that mouse became his vahan, his vehicle. See, just like Shivji rides a bull, Vishnuji rides a Garuda, Saraswati soars across the universe in a beautiful white swan. So this huge, big-bellied elephant head has a tiny vehicle as a mouse, which he keeps under his control very firmly. But what is the spiritual lesson in this rather odd sounding story for us? Because our intellectual mind doesn't want to grasp it, doesn't understand it, wants to find holes in it. But there's a lesson for all of us. The sages, they are comparing higher consciousness to an elephant because it is so powerful. When its full strength is marshaled, it's unstoppable. Like an elephant in the medieval Indian battlefields, we see. Mahouts who work with elephants in India, they report that these huge animals are highly intelligent and extremely protective. They are so large that they could easily destroy virtually anyone who crosses their path. Yet, unlike smaller beasts of prey, they rarely harm anyone. So there's a strength as well as there's a compassion in them. So supremely strong, yet a generally peaceful and loving disposition makes them a striking symbol for divine consciousness. What is more in Ganesh's? The character for the sacred mantra Om. When we write Om in Sanskrit, not in English O and M, but in Sanskrit, the letters when we write Om, it looks like the head of an elephant. We see often artists deliberately paint Ganesh with his trunk twisted to the side so that it also resembles the symbol of Om. Orthodox Hindus will always worship Ganesh before another of their gods. Just like a yogis, they recite Om mantra before any prayer. And the mouse, the vahan of Ganesh, represents the human mind. It's always running here and there, nibbling on this thought or that thought. This experience, that fantasy. It always fearful, always hungry, continually craving new experiences to feed its endless desire for stimulation. Mice come out only at night. In the same way, the human mind tends to avoid the light of spirit, preferring to chase after the material goals. Even though we know that in the end, these goals are no more satisfying than the shadow. The mind could be a powerful force for evil when it focuses its power in selfish and manipulative ways. We don't have to look for to see the Gajmukhs of our own era running over everyone else. Remember that Gajmukh, the demon? Those demons are inside us too. There may even be a Gajmukh inside ourselves, doing battle with the force of higher consciousness that is trying to express itself into our life. When this happens, it's time for Ganesh, our higher awareness, to take charge and bring the selfish, restless mind under its control. The puny mice can hardly comprehend the power and grandeur of an elephant. By the same token, most of us are only dimly aware of the inner strength and majesty concealed in the hidden recesses of our heart. We must allow our bodies and minds to become a vehicle for our innermost spirit, just like the mouse who carries an enormous elephant on its back. Then our mental energies are harnessed by a higher power and put to constructive use. Whenever you see the paintings or the sculptures of Ganesh, you will notice that his right tusk is missing. Remember, in order to help others, you have to sacrifice. He sacrificed his own tusk, only then he could conquer that demon. Only then he could help the Devatas. So if we have to help anybody, look for the sacrifice, what sacrifice you can make. And the sages also say that this represents a unitary consciousness. Okay, one tusk rather than two tusks, unitary. There is another well-known story about Ganesh in the Purans. Ganesh has a brother, Sakanda, so called Kartikeya also. These are the two sons of Shiva and Parvati, who are the father and the mother of the universe. The divine parents represent divine consciousness and the matrix of energy from which the cosmos was born. In the yogic tradition, Ganesh, like a Ish, that is the intelligence that activates and directs the component parts, the gun. So gun and the Ish of the guns. So the name Ganesh literally means Lord of the field of energy. Ish means the Lord. So the story which I'm going to tell you, it goes like that. One day, Ganesh and his brother were squabbling over a laddu. Parvati, after looking them quarreling for the laddu, finally told them, I will give the laddu to whichever one of you first circles the entire universe 3 times. I'm sure you have all heard this story with a deep significance. As you see that this wasn't a fair race because Skand, a born warrior, was extremely strong and fast. Not only that, his vehicle was a divine peacock. So he leapt onto his pet peacock and blasted off, leaving his overweight older brother to limber towards his own vehicle. The not so speedy mouse. But then Ganesh stopped, turned back, and walked around his parents 3 times. He said, the entire universe is contained in you too. Consciousness and energy. Now may I have my laddu. Shiva and Parvati, they handed Ganesh the laddu. So the point of the story is that while valor and efficiency like Skans are admirable qualities, but without wisdom, they don't necessarily carry you to your goal with the wisdom. Most Hindus also know Ganesh as Vinayaka, the Lord of obstacles. Vinayak. Before any undertaking, including spiritual practices, people offer their homage to Ganesha, who removes the obstacles to the successful fulfillment of their efforts. However, as the controller of difficulties, Ganesh also deliberately places obstacles in our path. When he sees us heading in the wrong direction, sometimes we need to strengthen our will by overcoming serious problems before we achieve our goals. So Ganesh provides plenty of opportunities to work on our willpower by putting obstacles in the road before us. It's almost like people go to the gym and they start working harder and harder on their muscles, putting the obstacles for their physical body. So in a yogic tradition, both the appearance and the disappearance of obstacles is seen as the play of cosmic intelligence, working to increase our inner strength as well as awareness. We all know that elephants don't need a paved highway to make their way through the jungle. Everywhere they step, trees and brush are pushed out of the way. They are nature's bulldozers. Wherever they walk, it becomes a path on which the other creatures can travel. And at the same time, they can control their trunk so perfectly that it can pick up a single blade of straw. This represents the mental discrimination. As yoga students, this is what we need to develop as we progress in our yogic practice, discrimination. Where to use the physical power and where to become gentle. That is the discrimination. When we align ourselves with the cosmic intelligence, our purpose in life becomes clear. And we experience a distinct sense of being guided forward at every step. According to the Purans, when Parvati, the Divine Mother, wanted to conceal herself, she posted Ganesh at the door of her house to safeguard the entrance. Yoga students know that this entrance is the Mooladhara Chakra at the base of our spine. Only when we are aligned with the Parvati's consort, divine consciousness, will Ganesh allow us admittance in the presence of the Divine Mother within ourselves, which is called Kundalini Shakti. This is why many yogis say that Ganesh rules the Mooladhara Chakra. That is the deity for the Mooladhara Chakra. When you visualize him there, asking for his grace, asking for his protection, you activate your Kundalini Shakti. This is an imagery which is used in the ancient textbooks. It can be very baffling for modern students. But when we understand it with the help of this philosophical significance behind it, it becomes very clear, very useful also. Because an image that at first seems silly, but when you remove the layers after layers of the hidden significances, when we bear in mind that these symbols and stories are not arbitrary, they were very carefully advised by spiritual masters to help us learn something important about ourselves. So this is what this imagery is all about. This symbolism is all about. All these stories are all about to get to know ourselves fully, who we are, which we have forgotten. So these are some of the symbolic significance of Ganesh. Now let me go to the avatars of Ganesh. Because these avatars also, they convey intricate philosophical concepts associated with the creation of the world. Altogether, I have 8 different avatars of Lord Ganesh written over here. Each of these incarnations depicts a stage of the ultimate which leads to creation. Where are they mentioned? In the Mudagal Puran. Mudagal Puran is a Upapuran devoted exclusively to Lord Ganesha. According to this Puran, Lord Ganesha defeats 8 weaknesses of humans in each form. Because these weaknesses are the obstacles for us. We are part of God, but we have forgotten that because of these obstacles. So with these 8 different avatars, remembering these avatars, what these avatars are meant for, and do the tapasya according to that, we will know who we are. That is the purpose. Not for the material gain, not to become more greedy, not to get more involved into this world, but moving away from there and going towards the spirit. What are the 8 obstacles which we have as human beings? Arrogance, ego, desire, anger, greed, illusion, pride, and jealousy. We are all very familiar with these terms. So 8 avatars to remove these 8 obstacles. Let's look at the first one, Vakratunda. The first incarnation is Vakratunda, which means the one with the curved trunk. Vakratunda. It is the personification of the form of Brahma. In the form of Vakratunda, Lord Ganesh defeated the demon of jealousy. There are stories about it. I'm not going to go into the story right now, just give you the name of the Asur which he defeated. Matsarasura. Matsara means jealousy. So the Lord in this form is considered as the destroyer of jealousy. Normally we think that Lord Ganesh has the vahan, vehicle, as a mouse. But in these different incarnations, he had a different animals as vahans too. As a Vakratunda, his vahan is a divine lion. Then the second avatar, Eakatunda. This is the story I just told you. So Eakatunda is the second incarnation of the Lord, which denotes that the Lord has a single tusk, Eakatunda. He is a manifestation of the essential nature of Brahma. The Padam Puran also states that. Another story about this, that once Parshuram visited Lord Shiva in the Mount Kailash, but Ganesh prevented him from entering. So Parshuramji became infuriated and threw his divine axe at Ganesh. And Ganesh knew that this axe was granted by his own father, Lord Shiva. Even though he could have stopped it, but he refused to stop the sacred weapon and allowed the axe to chop one of his tusks. Hence he was named as Eakatunda. So this is the story in Padam Puran. They say that later on, Ganesh used this tusk to script the epic Mahabharata. That became the pen for him. Because we all know he acted as a scribe to sage Ved Vyasa. So in this incarnation, Lord Ganesh fought against the demon Madasura, who was the embodiment of conceit and arrogance. Then third avatar is Mahadora. Mahadora incarnation is an embodiment of the wisdom of Brahma. In this form, the Lord is depicted with a pot belly. Udar is the belly. And his mount is a mouse. He is born in this avatar to annihilate Mohasura. Mohasura, the demon of delusion, Moha, confusion and delusion. And in the Purans, there's a story that this demon became a devotee of the Lord afterwards. According to the legends, Mohasura was also known as Daityaraj, or the king of the Asurs. He was a devotee of Surya Deva first. He dominated the three loks. All the sages, deities, and gods were terrified of him. Then Lord Surya told the gods and sages to pray to Mahadora. So Lord Ganesh was pleased with the worship, with the devotion of the gods and the deities, and he eliminated Mohasura. Lord Vishnu and Shukracharya advised Mohasura to surrender and pray to Ganesh, Mahadora. And eventually the demon surrendered to Lord and praised him with utmost devotion. Mohasura asked for his forgiveness and promised to follow the path of righteousness. Lord Ganesh became pleased with his devotion and instructed him to go to Patal Lok. And that's where he stayed. That is the place for the Asurs, Patal. Fourth incarnation is called Gajanan. Gajanan means the Lord with an elephant head. The combination of an elephant head with a human body is one of the unique physical features of Lord Ganesh, as we all know. So in this avatar, the Lord defeated the demon of greed, Lobhasura. And Lobhasura was a son of Kuber. And Gajanan also mounts a mouse in this incarnation. So again, the mouse is the vahan. Fifth incarnation, Lambodara. In Lambodara incarnation, Ganesh is considered to be similar to Adi Shakti, the pure power of Brahma. Again, elephant-headed deity with a large belly. And the divine mouse crunch is portrayed as his vahan in this avatar. And the Lord Ganesh incarnated as Lambodara with the objective to eradicate the demon of anger, Krodhasura. And the sixth avatar is called Vikata. Vikata. Lord Ganesh is considered to be a form of Surya, Vikata, sixth avatar. Vikat meaning an abnormal form, ferocious and dreadful. In this incarnation, a divine peacock serves as his vahan. And Vikat is a manifestation of the illuminating nature of Brahma. And what was the purpose of this avatar? To eradicate Kamasura, the demon of lust. The seventh avatar of Lord Ganesh is Vighnaraja and is a personification of the preserving nature of Brahma. So in this avatar, Ganesh is equivalent to Lord Vishnu because Lord Vishnu is considered the preserver. Shesh or the Sheshnaag, the divine serpent, is his vahan in this incarnation. And Lord Ganesh appears as Vighnaraja to defeat the demon of ego. Mamasura, ego and possessiveness. Mama, that is a big enemy in us, big obstacle in us. Mama, Mera. Then eighth avatar in this list is Dhumravarna. Dhumra means a gray. So in this form, Lord Ganesh is in a gray colored form. It is an embodiment of the destruction nature of Brahma. His mount is a horse in this incarnation. As Dhumravarna, Lord Ganesh is equivalent to Lord Shiva, his own father. Dhumravarna is born with the objective to defeat the demon of self-infatuation, pride, attachment, known as Ahamkarasura or Abhimanasura. There are a lot of stories behind all this. So I'm not going to go into the stories, at least not today. Because as yoga students, we got to understand when we pray to Lord Ganesh also, there is a spiritual significance behind it. We got to learn something, remove our obstacles, and get to know ourselves. That is the main reason. Because ordinarily we think that we pray to Lord Ganesh so that we get something material. Our health becomes better, more and more money. And with that, what happens? More and more greed, more and more arrogance. But Lord Ganesh, the real teachings of Lord Ganesh is to remove all these obstacles. Very clearly, again and again, he shows us that these 8 obstacles, normally we talk about 6, but over here in these Puranas, they talk about these 8. Arrogance, ego, desire, anger, greed, illusion, pride, and jealousy. And we see that these are the asurs. These are called asurs. So when we know that they are the asurs, we'll definitely put our best foot to keep them away. But if we think, no, they are our friends, then we just keep them with us. And that's how we don't get to know our real nature. That Paramatma in us, or Paramatma everywhere, we just don't See that. And that's why you see all these Ganesha's statues. Now you see that why they are different also, different colors also. Basically, the elephant head and the human body, but there's always some difference in them. And the differences are because of these different incarnations for a different reason. There's always a reason why God comes in a different form. So we got to understand the meaning behind these stories and how we can use all this for our own improvement, our own elevation. What can we get out of it? Okay, so we'll end the class here today and we'll have some dialogue and then a couple of bhajans today. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnase Purnamadaye Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.